Welcome back to OpenLine. We were talking with Ray Crocker. He has been in the repo industry for a long time. We've been talking about that industry, calls for more regulation of that industry. But I want to transition now into just basically some con men that you've dealt with over the course of the many years you've been in the business. The repo, you dealt with a repo of a speedboat that held the American and European Speedboat Championship that held the record, I guess. Mm-hmm. So what's the story there? There's a guy involved here.
I was contacted by a bank to find this boat, and it held the championship for the American and the European Championship, and the guy that owned it was the pilot. Well, he also owned a couple of marinas up in New Jersey, and they'd all bankrupted. He was kind of I think the FBI and people were looking for him, and so he staged his death off the coast of New Jersey, and I was hired to find the boat. Well, he didn't die in that boat, or if he did die or not, and so I had to find the boat. So through some contacts that I know, and I have contacts all over the place.
Okay.
I called a friend of mine named Harvey Altez down in Florida, and I said, I need to know somebody in the know in New Jersey. He said, I'll have a guy call you. And this guy calls me, and he said, what are you looking for? And I told him. He said, I'll call you back. So he called me back, and he's 2 days later, and he said, just talked to a man that's actually been in that boat. I said, really? He said, yeah, and he led me to another person who told me, and we found the boat down in Florida in a warehouse, shrink wrapped.
Wow. You found the boat. All right, what about the guy that faked his death? Did you find that guy?
I wasn't looking for him. I was looking for the boat.
So that guy,
he might be still going.
He may still be out there, but we know he's not dead.
Right, he's not dead. It's kind of hard to wreck a pontoon boat. You know, that's what they said he drowned off of.
Another case, Casper, the disappearing con man. This guy has been on Montel Williams 3 times.
Well, he hadn't been on, but they've done a show about him 3 times.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, so they've done shows on him. What's his deal?
Well, I get a deal to locate a Harley Davidson on this guy, and this guy happened to be from Dixon, Tennessee. So I start looking for him, and I call this one lady, and she said, well, don't you know who he is? I said, no, ma'am. She said, well, they've done shows on Montel Williams about him. And I said, well, do you know how to get a hold of him? She said, no, sir. I said, okay. So I hang up the phone. And he got this lady for like $30,000. So he was a con man. So a few minutes later, I get a call from a Metro police detective. He tells me, are you looking for this guy? I said, yes, I sure am. He said, well, we got another victim here in Nashville. Would you like to go interview her? I said, sure. So he comes by and gets me, and we ride out to this lady's house, and he has stolen her TV, stole her jewelry.
What would he do? Pretend to be a boyfriend or something?
Well, he would hook up with them over the internet, these dating services and something. Yeah. And you know, he was like 6'3", about 185 pounds, nice looking guy, and he was just a flim-flam guy. That was it. Well, I tried to talk to the lady, and every time I asked a question, the detective wouldn't let me say anything. He said, I'm handling this. And he went on talking about, and I said, let me ask you, he said, I told you I'm handling this. So I didn't get to ask a question, so he brought me back to my office. And he said, did you learn anything? I said, yes, sir, I sure did. He said, what'd you learn? I said, not to go on an interview with you.
Okay.
So he got mad. I go in the office and I call the lady back. I said, I didn't get to ask you a question, ma'am, but does he have a cell phone? She said, yes. I said, did you pay the bill? She said, yes, sir. I said, have you got the bill? She said, yeah. I said, I'll come by, take a look at it. Well, as soon as I hung the phone up, I had a call from the district attorney here in Nashville. And he tells me I need to stay off the case. And I said, well, why do I need to stay off? He said, because we don't want you to muddy the water. I said, well, let me tell you something, General. I said, I believe I'll find this guy long before y'all will, you know. So I go down there and I get the bill and I look at it, and I circle all the calls, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes, same number. Goes down to Panama City, Florida. Well, this guy goes by Casper, that's his nickname. So the lady answers the phone. I said, is Casper there? She said, no, he's not here right now. I said, well, one phone call now. I said, well, when will he be back? She said, probably tomorrow. He went over to one of these casinos over there, and he's to gamble, and he'll be back tomorrow. I said, well, I'll call back. She said, well, who's calling? I said, oh, man, my name's Monk. I'm with the Grim Reapers Motorcycle Club, you know. She said, Monk. She said, I don't think I've ever heard him talk about you. I said, ma'am, I ain't nothing to talk about, I promise you, you know. So the next day I called back, and I said, can I speak to Casper, you know? And she said, well, he didn't come back. I said, he didn't. I said, have you heard from him? She said, no, and I'm worried about him. I said, well, worried? Well, why are you worried? Well, he didn't take his medicine. And I said, medicine? Well, yeah, he had his back operated on. I said, ma'am, is he riding that Harley on a bad back? Oh, no, it's right here under my carport. I said, hold on. So I go back, I come back to the phone. I said, ma'am, my name is Ray Crocker. I'm an investigator out in Nashville, Tennessee. I said, I got the Panama City Police to come by to talk to you about this guy, and I got a repossession company coming to pick up the motorcycle. And she said, okay. I said, this guy's kind of infamous. He's been on TV and everything else. She said, what do you mean TV? Well, Montel Williams. I seen them shows.
It's amazing how many people see Montel Williams.
She said, I seen them shows. I said, you did? She said, yeah. And I asked him if that was him, and he said it wasn't.
I long for the day that you're able to say to someone, that guy has been on OpenLine. And then they go, I've seen that guy. I'm just kidding. All right. One other. All right, Vito. This guy was in the mafia. Okay, another thing you've dealt with, a guy in the mafia. So what's the deal there?
I get a call from a friend of mine out of Houston, who I consider probably one of the more prominent repossessors in the country. He's one of the best skip tracers ever. One of, you know. He said he'd been working on this deal for 8 months. Wanted to know. He said, maybe get some fresh eyes on it, can do something, you know, take a look. I said, well, what's the payoff on it? He said, well, we're looking for 2 dump trucks and a motor home. If we repo them, when they sell them, we get half of whatever they bring at auction. Because this is 5-year charge-off. This is found money. I said, okay. I go to working on it, and luckily enough, I hit a guy that Vito owed money to. And I said, well, you know how I get a hold of him? Well, he's got a place in Tennessee. I said, well, where? He said, in Dixon. I said, where at? He said, I can tell you how to get there, but I don't know the name of the street and all that. So he gave me directions, and I sent my son out there. And he calls me, and he said, Dad, there's a couple of excavators sitting here. There's some equipment and everything else down there. I said, well, give me the serial numbers, you know. So he gets the serial numbers off the excavators, and I call Nashville Ford Tractor, talk to Earl Denny, out there, his son rather. I said, who's got these financed? He said, Case New Holland. Well, I used to work for Ford Motor Credit, and Case New Holland is Ford Credit. So I call up there, and they said, you know where these are at? I said, yeah. And I said, 2 excavators. They said, yeah. I said, they still got the plastic on the seats. Well, we've been looking for them for 6 months. I said, well, he hasn't been using them, you know. They said, well, we want you to pick them up. I said, okay, hold on, we'll have our repo department call you. So this guy calls me up. Now we're talking about a couple $100,000 piece of equipment.
Couple $100,000, okay.
Each one, you know.
Right.
And he says, you can get these? I said, yes, sir, I can. He said, well, we want you to get them. I said, okay. On each one, I'm going to charge $1,500 plus expenses. He said, what do you mean expenses? Well, I got to have a drop deck trailer. I got to have permits to move. I got to have an operator to handle them. He said, well, we don't pay that much. I said, well, what do you pay? He said, $350. I said, well, you ain't going to get them. And I hung up. Well, he called me back, and he said, well, where are they? I said, send me $3 grand, and I'll tell you. Okay. So I ended up finding, getting a John Deere excavator and loader, actually out of Fairview, Tennessee. I found 1 dump truck in Detroit, the other one in Cincinnati, and the motorhome in Magazine, Arkansas. And Vito, I made contact with him when I was down on his place in Dixon. I went in, and he had, his family evidently owned a petting zoo up in Detroit, and they brought all these animals because the city put him out of business. So he had 5 single hump camels running around this farm down there.
And this guy's in the mafia.
He was mafia.
He was mafia. Yeah. And he's here in Dixon.
Yeah.
And he's got camels from a zoo.
Well, from a petting zoo they had in Detroit. At the Three Bears Water Park. You can Google it and read all about it.
All right, we only have a couple minutes left. I mean, bottom line, you've seen all kinds of stuff. Are you, where do you think about where we're going? I mean, what do you think? Are you optimistic about where things are going or not? What you're seeing as far as is just what you're seeing out there in the world. What do you think from your perspective in this business, this crazy business?
You know, as the interest rates grow, the money that can be made off financing cars is a lot of money. You know, but we have so many of these what I call subprime companies that buy the marginal credit, and they buy deep into it, and then they want to dictate to the repossessor, well, you're only going to work, we're only going to pay you unless you get the car. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that's called contingency. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get people killed and hurt, and they already have because of it. In other words, if I don't get that car, I don't get any money. Right. Well, I'm not going to go out and repossess every one of them. I have people that work for me. And if they've had a bad payday, because generally you pay an incentive for each vehicle, they're going to take chances they normally wouldn't take. Yeah. And when that happens, people get hurt.
And that's why you think there should be a little more oversight, a little more training, a little more regulation. It's fascinating to talk to you. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back, wrap everything up. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.